All right, we're not in the studio right now because I want to give you several solutions for recording hybrid, both with in-person guests and remote using Riverside and only the devices you have at hand. And some new features from Riverside like Magic Audio, which is going to make the built-in microphones of your devices sound like they're studio quality. So the first thing we're going to do is grab our computer. So I have a laptop, you could have a Mac or Windows PC, and we're going to use Riverside in the browser. Now because I'm doing a hybrid recording, that means I'm going to have someone else in person, so just imagine someone else sitting right here, and we want to record with a remote guest as well. So I'm actually going to use two devices. Here I actually have an iPad mini running the Riverside app. Now this could be a phone, Android, or iPhone. You can download the Riverside app for any of those platforms. We'll put links to the apps down below. But this is going to help me get that hybrid recording, so me and another in-person guest along with a remote guest. Now I'm going to try and be super low tech, so I'm not even using external microphones. I'm going to show you that setup in a second, or an external webcam. I'm going to use everything built in, my built-in laptop camera, and the built-in laptop microphone, so you can hear how Magic Audio can make the sound after the fact. So I have the FaceTime camera here on my MacBook, I have the MacBook microphone, and the speakers. Now what's important is I'm going to select I am not using headphones because this is going to turn on echo cancellation, and that means when someone else is speaking and coming through the speakers of my laptop, it's not going to have the echo in my microphone. So you definitely want to say I'm not using headphones, and then we'll click Join Studio. So I have my setup, here's my camera using my laptop, but what about my other in-person guest? Well, I'm going to have them use a mobile device like an iPad, an iPhone, or Android device. So I can actually copy the guest link here. Make sure you have the Riverside app downloaded on the mobile device you'll be using. I'm going to send that link to this device, just text it, and I can open it in the app. Now it's going to load the same Riverside Studio here on the iPad. I'll name it something like in-person guest. I can preview the video, make sure it looks good. But because this second device is in the same room as the other laptop, there's an important feature you need to do. In the Riverside app, you can hit the three dots and then choose Mute Speaker. Muting the speaker means the audio from this mobile device, an iPad, Android, or iPhone, the audio will still be recorded, but the sound from the remote guests won't come out of this device. Because I'm in person with the host, I'm going to hear it from that speaker and then not have this device make any sound. So I muted the speaker, and now I'll hit Join Studio. Now there is going to be feedback across the microphones, so I have to mute myself whenever I'm not speaking. This is going to be one of the challenges unless you use some headphones and microphones, which I'll show you in a second. You're going to have to mute yourself each time you're not speaking. So I've muted myself here on the iPad, but as you can see, my iPad is still in the studio, and the microphone from my laptop is still active as well. Now I can invite a remote guest. I'll click the invite link, copy that guest link, send that to a remote person, and then they'll join us in the studio. Depending on their setup, hopefully they're wearing headphones using a USB microphone, but their setup won't affect what you're doing here. All right, so let's record something. I'm gonna hit record here in the studio. Now everything's recording. If we had a remote guest in the studio, you would see them here as well. My microphone's being recorded through the laptop. So if me and another guest are speaking, maybe I'm done talking, I'll need to mute myself, and then I can unmute myself here on the iPad, and now you'll see the audio for the other in-person guest is going up and down. I do need to turn down the speakers on my laptop pretty low when the other in-person guest is talking, because even though echo cancellation is enabled, it can be pretty loud coming out of the first device. So just try to keep the speakers down. If your remote guest starts speaking, maybe raise the volume on it. And then if the host is going to speak, I'll mute the iPad here, I'll unmute myself here on the laptop, and now this person's recording. Without any other equipment, just an iPad or mobile device and a laptop, you can record two people in person and a remote guest. It's going to take some work making sure you're muting and unmuting when you need to, but it's doable. Now if we add just a couple pieces of gear, this whole setup gets a lot easier. Alright, so we're going to add a USB microphone and some headphones. Now you can do this just on one of the in-person devices or on both. Doing both will get you better audio quality, but I'm going to take my laptop and now I'm going to plug in a USB microphone. This is the Shure MV7. Just one cable, USB, from the microphone to the laptop. Now that I have a USB microphone connected, I can also plug in a pair of wired headphones and even a splitter, so me and my other in-person guest can hear through the headphones and we don't have to worry about echo cancellation or muting each device. You can get an inexpensive splitter, something like this, plug it directly into the bottom of the microphone, and then plug in a pair of wired headphones to each of the ends on the splitter. These do not have to be expensive wired headphones. They can be the white earbuds you get with Apple devices or any wired headphones you have lying around. Once you've plugged in two pairs of headphones and you and your other in-person guest have them in your ears, back on my laptop, I'm going to re-enter the studio. and I'm going to choose the Shure MV7 as my microphone input and my speaker output. This way, it's going to get my microphone recorded here, and I'll be able to hear the remote guest in the headphones. And here I can select I am using headphones, and then I'll join the studio. Now for my other in-person guest, I'm going to use another USB microphone. If you have an iPad mini, iPad Air, or newer with a USB-C port, or an iPhone 15 or Android phone with USB-C, you can connect a microphone to that mobile device with a single cable. I plugged in my microphone, and I'm going to plug it into my iPad, single cable. This can be for the other in-person guest. I sent that same studio guest link to myself, put it in the iPad, and now you'll see this pop up asking about a wired connection. I'm actually going to tap no. I wanted to use this microphone as the audio input and output. That's what selecting no does on that pop-up. Now I can enter the studio on this secondary device. Again, this could be a mobile device. And so now I can talk into this microphone as the other in-person guest, and you can see it reflected there in the studio. And if I go back to the host microphone, you'll actually see the host volume on their side. Now I can send the guest link out one more time. I'll copy this link and I can send it to a remote guest, and they can join the studio with whatever gear they have, and me and my other in-person guest are using wired headphones connected to the first mic, and we're both hearing the remote guest. There's no echo, there's no feedback, there's no audio actually going on in the room because it's all in the headphones, and this is going to get you great audio quality both from you, your other in-person guest, and your remote guest. Now let's say we started a recording. This is me talking into the host microphone, the USB Shure MV7, and the other in-person guest. They'll be talking through this secondary USB microphone connected to the mobile device. Here it's an iPad mini, could be an iPhone or Android device, and we're both getting high quality audio recorded into Riverside, and then our remote guest, with whatever gear they have, they'll be in the studio as well. So those are some low-tech options for recording with an in-person guest and someone else remotely. If you have questions about your setup or what I covered today, leave comments below this video. I answer all of those personally. Don't forget to subscribe to the Riverside channel and hit that like button. If you want to learn more about Riverside and our incredible editor, which helps you put it all together, I'll put a playlist right up here. It's Learn to Use Riverside. I walk you through the entire platform. And if you want to know about how to build your setup, all budget levels, starting with USB microphones, all the way up to mirrorless cameras and audio interfaces, I have one of those videos right here. You can check it out there. Thanks for watching. We can't wait to see what you create.